this will be a little bit new for you, but review for most everyone else. And so we'll start today by going over some of those things we learned last week. So, first, can anyone today just name one of the storms that we talked about last week?
Very.
Typhoon.
Oh, a
Typhoon.
hurricane?
Typhoon.
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 Or,
Okay.
all right, typhoon. Very good.
And
And I said a hurricane, which typhoon and hurricane, same storm, just a different name. Does anyone know another storm we talked about last week?
Sylvia, could you go next?
Um, um, cyclone.
Cyclone.
A cyclone. Yes, a cyclone. Also the same as a typhoon and hurricane. Very good, Sylvia. And how about now? Let's think about it. Can anyone remember something that we can do to protect ourselves? Protect ourselves. Does anyone know one thing?
Esther, how can we protect ourselves? 保护自己.
Stay at home.
Yes, stay at home. Very good. All right. Good job, Esther. So let's do a little matching game, and it'll just be quick. So let me share my screen, and let's remember and think about the different words we learned last week. So give me one second. Okay, so here we have a word bank at the top with different words that we went over last week. And so first, let's try to put the different words into their columns.
Yeah, could,
So
could, could you
either,
zoom in a little bit?
oh,
Zoom
yes,
in,
I
yeah.
can. Yep, here we go. Oh, all right. Okay, now I can also make this bigger. Is that better
Yes.
for everyone? Okay, so let's start here. So we have three different columns. Type of storm, danger. So, what makes it a dangerous storm? And a way to stay safe. So, let's start with the first word basement. Basement. Now, does that word is that word something that we would call a storm? Is it
No.
something that makes a storm dangerous? Or is it a way that we could stay safe? Is it involved with staying safe? Who can think? Basement. Which one?
Ryan, could you answer this question?
Way to stay safe.
All right. Way to stay safe. Good job. Okay, Ryan. Good job with that one. How about our next one? Canned food.
罐头食物. Canned food. So Dylan, could you?
Way to stay safe.
Okay, yes. Getting canned food or having canned food at our homes to eat after a storm. That's a way we can stay safe. Good. And everyone, class, and observers, please make sure we mute our microphones when we're not speaking. And so, all right, next one. Hurricane. Hurricane. Is that a type of storm, danger, or way to stay safe?
Larry?
Type of storm.
Good, a type of storm. A
Storm.
hurricane. Storm. Type of storm. Okay, what about a flood? Flood or flooding? What
Sylvia.
is that?
Danger.
Yes, it's a danger. That is a danger. Mm-hmm. Good job. All right, tornado. Where should we put tornado?
Esther. Esther.
Can you say again?
Where should we put the word tornado? Is it a type of storm, a danger, or a way to stay safe?
Danger.
A danger. Okay. Now, tornadoes are dangerous, but is it a danger? Oh, I think it's a type of storm. Let's do type of storm for tornadoes. But a tornado is dangerous. Okay? So let's think about the next word, indoors or being inside. So indoors is the inside of a building, just in case. So being indoors or being inside.
Ryan.
Which one is that?
Way to stay safe.
All right, a way to stay safe. Okay, good job. First aid kit. First aid kit.
Dylan. First aid kit. 急救箱。
Way to stay safe.
Good way to stay safe. All right, first aid kit. Okay. And now what about wind?
Barry.
Danger.
Danger. Very good. Wind is a danger. Okay. And blizzard.
Sylvia.
Type of storm.
Ah, got it. Very good.
超级的
Blizzard.
暴风雪。Blizzard.
Blizzard. All right. Now, storm surge. Storm surge.
Esther. 海水倒灌之类的。
Danger.
Yes, very good. Storm surge is a danger. Okay. What about supplies or
Right.
having supplies?
Supplies. Ryan. Do you remember supplies?
I don't know.
You don't know? 哦，日常生活用品。
Okay.
Supplies.
Well, let's think about supplies. So supplies could be things like, it could be like food, water. A first aid kit is a supplies that you might have for a storm. So where do you think that goes now?
Okay, Ryan.
Way to stay safe.
Got it. All right. Good job. Now, what about hail? Hail.
Dylan. Hail.
Way to stay safe.
Oh, way to stay safe. Ooh. Let's think. Do we remember what that hail was? Those big balls of ice. Those big balls of ice. So is that a way to stay safe?
Dylan.
Danger.
Danger.
Okay. A danger. So yes, now I will say I would have said type of storm or danger are they're both correct because some people will say a hailstorm as the type of storm, it's a hailstorm, but also hail comes out of a thunderstorm. So really bad thunderstorms produce hail. So it's also a danger of a thunderstorm. So it just depends what you call it, a hailstorm or a thunderstorm with hail. Okay? All right. So now damage. Who can tell me where we should put damage? Sorry, damage.
Barry.
Type of storm.
Oh,
Damage.
damage. So let's think. Damage. If something is damaged, it's broken. So my home can be damaged, broken. So what do we think it would be?
Danger.
All right, there we go.
Good,
Danger.
good. Sylvia, you go next.
Cyclone.
Type of storm.
All right, type of storm. Good. And last one, a flashlight. Flashlight.
Esther, do you know flashlight? Do you know the word?
Way to stay safe.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
flashlight, a way to stay safe. Good. All right. Class, you did a very good job with that. Only a few that we had to think about a second time. So very good. All right, let's turn this back. Okay, so now with that information, let's think about some sentences that we could ask using that information. So, if I were to ask you, what makes a storm dangerous? You could use some of our matching exercise. So, I will share my screen again and let's have someone answer the question, what makes a tornado dangerous? So here's our matching exercise. What makes it dangerous? I'll give someone a chance to see if they can come up with a word. What makes a storm dangerous? A tornado.
Rain,
In a sentence. Let's try to make a full sentence.
Ryan, could you answer the question?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So we're going to answer the question, what makes a tornado dangerous? So a way that you could answer it is you could say a tornado is dangerous because. So now, what makes a tornado dangerous?
A tornado is dangerous because the wind is strong.
Yes, very good. Because the wind is strong. Okay. Now, how about Esther? Esther, what makes a typhoon dangerous?
Typhoon.
A typhoon is
Ty-
dangerous.
typhoon is dangerous because it has strong wind and strong rain.
Yes, and for rain, we could say heavy rain. So strong wind and
And
heavy
heavy rain.
rain. Yeah,
Could you
heavy
try
rain.
that again, Esther? Try it again.
Typhoon is dangerous
A
because
typhoon. A typhoon.
a typhoon is dangerous because it has strong wind and heavy rain.
Yes, there we go. So I will leave this here for the next student. Okay. A is dangerous because. Okay, so Tyler, I know you're new to this class for this week, but let's try this sentence. Ready? So let's pick one of our storms, any storm you want here, and let's try this sentence. A is dangerous because.
Tyler, could you mute your microphone? Tyler 可以打开麦克风吗？A，然后这边有没有办
A
法
tornado
？Good, good.
Okay. A tornado.
has strong winds and it could cause damage.
Ah, yes, it could cause damage. That was a good sentence. You didn't even have to use the template. So a tornado is dangerous because it can cause damage. Very good. It can cause damage. Great job, Tyler. All right. And how about one more? Dylan, how about you give it a shot? How about which one? Which one would you like to do? How about a hail? How about we take hail, Dylan? A hailstorm.
那 A hill
那你再开一个好了啦。
A
这样
hill
子
is is
Dangerous.
dangerous because is no is big.
Because it's big. The hail, yeah, because it's big and really hard. Let's say big and hard because it will do damage too. So that's good. So a hailstorm or a hailstone, one piece of hail, is dangerous because it's really big. Sometimes it is really big. Okay. All right. So good job there. So now, class, we are going to before we move on, any questions about our storms? And what I will do is later, maybe Luke can help me with this, but I can send this out or share this with the class so that you can see the different words and the categories of what a word is. Okay, so any other questions, class, before we move on to a new topic? Okay. All right, class. So next, we are going to talk about a new topic, and it's something that I know everyone here at least enjoys, maybe not doing it, but enjoys eating what happens afterwards. So what could that be? What do we do in order to eat yummy food? What do we have to do first? Most times. Cook. We have to cook. We have to cook our food so we can cook something very delicious. So our next unit, over the next few classes, we're going to talk about cooking. Okay, class? Cooking. So something fun. All right, so who here, you can raise your hand, who here likes to cook? Who likes to cook? Tyler. Okay, I've got one. Anyone else? No one else? Okay. Okay. Well, Tyler, I can't wait to hear from you a little later after a couple of classes. So we're going to talk a lot about cooking in these next few classes. So I want to explain how and what we'll do over the end of this week and next week. So in this class, we'll start our lessons by learning different types of cooking and what we cook in. So the different things that you put food in to cook it on a stove or in an oven. Next, on Friday, we will talk about some common ingredients and things that we cook, like some meats or things like salt and pepper or other types of things that we use when cooking. And last, we will talk about a recipe. A recipe. So a recipe, those are instructions of how to cook. So we'll learn about a recipe and learn some common words that are used in recipes. So a recipe is just how to cook something. How to cook. That's what recipe is. A recipe tells you how to cook something. Okay? So we'll learn. And last, we'll have a big project. And our final project for this special course will be for you all to tell the class how to make something. So we'll have a final presentation where you will tell us how to make a really easy food or something that you like to make. Okay? So those will be our next 3 classes. So let's get started. So first, let's look at a quick video that will show you how to make a very easy food item that is a favorite and kind of a classic food item in the US. And a very easy item to make. So let's share. Okay.
What are you making today?
Oh, Howie, I'm glad you're here. I have a problem.
Oh, what's the problem? What's wrong?
I have to make a grilled cheese sandwich.
And you don't know how to make it?
Right. What should I do first?
Take 2 slices of bread.
Okay.
Spread butter on one side of each slice. Good job. Now, heat a pan. Then put some butter in the pan.
All right, the pan is hot. What do I do next?
Lay the slices flat in the pan. Put the side with butter down. Good. Do you have any cheese?
Oh, cheese. I forgot the cheese. I'll be right back. I have the cheese. Now, what do I do, Howie?
Put cheese on each slice of bread. Wait until the cheese melts.
Okay, it's ready.
All right, now put one slice on top of the other. This makes the sandwich.
Now I see a sandwich. It's looking good, Howie.
You are almost done. Next, press the sandwich down with a spatula.
Will this help cook the sandwich?
That's right. Cook until golden brown.
Oh, I think it's ready. Wow, this looks great, Howie. Thanks. Lesson will we review first? Let's review our how-to lesson. We can...
Okay, class. So after the next couple of classes, that is what we would like you all to do. So something very easy that doesn't have very many steps or ingredients. So in this video, there were 3 main ingredients. So an ingredient is something that we use to cook. It's something that we use in our recipe. So there were 3 main items for the grilled cheese sandwich. One was bread, 2 slices of bread. Can anyone think of one of the other 2 items for the grilled cheese sandwich?
Sylvia, do you remember?
I can't see the screen.
All right. So I will write them here. So grilled cheese sandwich. So what do you think one of the ingredients is? Grilled cheese. Cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. That was one of the ingredients. And butter. We
Butter.
spread the butter on the bread. Spread the butter on the bread. And then she sprinkled the cheese onto the sandwich. The cheese. So, those were the ingredients in this one. So that's what we'll do for you all, is to pick something that's very easy to make that you can tell us how to make. So does anyone have an idea? Tyler, maybe you, since you like to cook. What is something that's very easy to make? Very easy.
Salad.
A salad. Yes, a salad is very easy to make. So that could be an option that you could tell us how to make for your project. Or maybe what's something else that's easy? Maybe a fried egg. Maybe a fried egg is easy to make. And so we'll talk about that a little bit sooner or after in our next class pretty soon. We will talk about that. But first, let's learn some cooking vocabulary, okay? So let's start with the little vocab for today. Okay, class. So now we will learn some types of cooking and some things you will use to cook. Okay? So first, we'll talk about types of cooking or ways that we cook food. Okay? So here we have 5 different pictures, and each picture is showing a different way that we could cook food. So let's look at them. Okay, the first 2. Boil. Can everyone say that for me? Boil.
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 Boil. Yeah. And bake.
Bake.
Yep.
Bake.
Bake. Okay. So when we boil something, we heat it up in very hot water. Very hot water. And so we heat it up until it boils, which is all of the bubbles. That's a boil. And so things boil at 100 degrees Celsius. So that's boiling. Boil. When we boil something. That's one way to cook. Okay. Another way to cook is to bake.
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 Yeah, bake. And so when we bake something, we put it in the oven. So that's when we bake. So those are some muffins here that are being baked. But we can bake all kinds of things. We can bake fish. We can bake chicken. So there's lots of things we can bake. But that is to bake. When we put it in the oven. Baking. Okay. Next, we've got frying. To fry something.
Fry.
Fry. Yeah. And here we have 2 examples of frying something. One is deep frying. Deep frying. And the other one is a pan fry. So both options are frying, but they're just a little different because deep frying uses a lot of oil. So it's when the food is in a lot of oil. So oil is what we use to fry. So oil. Okay? Oil. hmm So if there is a lot of oil, then it's deep frying. When there's just a little oil, just a little, then we can pan fry, or like this, like a fried egg. So here's 2 fried eggs. And so that's also frying. Very little grease on this one. But still, oil, very little oil. And you will hear 2 words interchangeable here to fry. Oil, or another word for oil is grease. So oil or grease is what you use to fry. Same thing. Just two words for the same thing. Oil and grease. Okay? Oil or grease. All right. Next. Oh, look here. Now this is an interesting word. Saute.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And saute is an interesting word because we use it in English, but we borrowed it from another language. And so this is not an originally English word. I believe it's French, but we saute. So saute is what you can do to vegetables in the skillet where you just lightly cook them, a little bit of oil, and just move them around quickly. That is sauteing. Yep, saute. Mm-hmm. And last, for today, or for the types of cooking, grill. Mm-hmm. Grill.
Grill.
Yeah. And so grilling is something that you can do over an open fire. Like here, we have some coal and we're grilling the food. Or sometimes people grill inside as well. But this is a grill, a type of way to cook. Okay. Next, we want to learn a few different items that we use to cook in or on, okay? To cook in or on. So, here's a few items that you would use. Ready? First, we'll start with skillets and pans, okay? So let's say that first word, skillet.
Skillet.
Skillet, uh-huh. And then a pan.
Pan.
Okay,
Pan.
now these two words and these two items are very, very similar. So there's not much difference between the two. But one way or one thing that I will say for these two words is that a pan is a lot more, several different items all can be called a pan. But a skillet is usually a little bit shallower, so it's not as deep as a pan. It's usually a little more shallow. And this one here that you can see, it is a cast iron. So it's a specific kind of skillet that people use. But so skillets and pans are very similar. And a lot of people, most in some of the observers, or if you're a really good chef, there might be a very specific difference between the two. But in common English, and what most people will say, a lot of people will use skillet and pan, either one. They'll use both words the same, skillet or pan. Okay. Next, we have a pot.
Pot.
So, pot.
Pot.
Good. All right. And a baking dish.
Bacon dish.
Baking dish.
Yes. And so a pot we usually use on top of the stove, and a baking dish we usually put into the oven. So those are the difference. A pot we could use to boil water or to make a soup. We could use a pot to make soup. Whereas a baking dish, we might cook or bake chicken, or maybe we bake some type of vegetable dish, but we put it in the oven. So that's a baking dish. And then, most important for cooking, what do we cook with? Either an oven for putting things inside the oven, or a stove. So you cook on a stove, or you can cook in the oven. So we put food in the oven or on the stove. Okay? In the oven, on the stove.
Oven and stove.
Mm-hmm. Oven and stove.
Stove.
Okay.
Oven and
And
stove.
and stove.
Oven and
and
stove.
stove.
Yeah, oven and stove. Good. Okay, everyone. So now let's think about a couple of questions. So let's put both items together. So if you saw, if I said I wanted to boil some eggs. Let's say I want to boil some eggs. What would I use to boil the eggs? What's something I could use to boil the eggs?
Barry, do you know?
A pot.
A pot?
Yeah.
There. Okay. A pot. So you could use a pot. Yep. Use a pot to boil eggs. Yeah. Okay. So what about if I wanted to fry some potatoes? Potatoes. Fry potatoes. What could I use to fry potatoes?
Anyone?
Skillet. And
Yes. Skillet. Okay, good. Good. And some maybe you would use a pan, but a pan or a skillet. Very good. All right. Now, what about if I wanted to bake a chicken? What if I wanted to bake a chicken? What could I use?
oven. Oven.
An oven. Yes. Okay. So you would use the oven. Good. And what would you put the chicken in? What would you put it in to bake it? What would you put a chicken in?
Baking dish.
Yes, in the baking dish. Great. Good job. So you would put it in the baking dish. All right. And what about if I were going to saute some vegetables? Saute some vegetables. What could I use?
Pan or skillet.
Yes. Yes, a pan or a skillet. And where would I cook it? Where would I cook it?
Stove.
Yes, on the stove.
On the
You could
stove.
on the stove. So that's something important to remember about where we cook things. So we cook on the stove and we cook in the oven. So on the stove
On the stove.
or in the oven.
In
In
the
the
oven.
oven.
Yep. So on the stove or in the oven. So you always want to say that. If I'm going to make a grilled cheese sandwich. I would cook a grilled cheese sandwich in a skillet on the stove. Okay, so let's say I was baking cookies. Or maybe, I guess I don't have a good baking cookies. Let's say instead I was baking a a ham. Let's say I was baking a ham. What would I use to cook it in and where would I cook it? Can you make a full sentence saying what you would cook it in and where you would cook it? Baking a ham.
I will bake a ham in the oven.
Yes, in the oven. And what would you cook it in? What would you cook it in?
Baking dish.
Yes, in a baking dish. So you would cook the ham in the oven in a baking dish. Okay? And what about if I wanted to boil some crab legs? I'm going to boil crab legs. Okay. So let's say I'm going to boil crab legs. Who can tell me what I would boil them in and where I would boil them? Crab legs.
I will boil some crab leg in the pot on the stove.
Yes! In the pot on the stove. Yes, very good. So boil the crab legs in a pot on the stove. All right. So let's do one more. One more. So how about I'm going to fry some chicken. What would I fry the chicken in and where would I fry it?
I will fry the chicken in the pot on the stove.
Yes, in the pot. Okay. Now, I said yes. Now, you could fry chicken in a pot, but most people might use something different than a pot. Maybe one of these two in a skillet or a pan.
Skill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you could deep fry.
Oh.
You could deep fry your chicken in a pot, but maybe just regular fry in a skillet or a pan. All right, class. Good job. So that's a touch. That's our first part one of our cooking unit. So we have definitely more parts to go. But so let's just talk about a little bit of homework. So before I let you all go today, I want you to think about and prepare for next class. Think about something that you would want to tell the class how to make. So remember our grilled cheese video and how easy it was to make the grilled cheese. So it was only 3 ingredients: bread, butter, and cheese. And only had a few steps, very few steps and things to do along the way. So think about something that is easy to make that you like to make that you could tell us how to make. And don't worry, we will learn more words and vocabulary about how to talk about making food. Okay? So just think about what you would like to make. And for next class, bring with you a copy or have a copy written down of the recipe for how you would make it. And so remember, a recipe.
Recipe.
Mhm. A recipe are the instructions, the directions for how you make something. So the recipe will tell you what you need as far as bread, cheese, butter. Those were our ingredients, what we needed for a grilled cheese, and it will tell you how. So what you need and how you make it. That's what your recipe will say. Okay? So make it something very easy. So let's talk about maybe we can make a boiled egg. So a boiled egg is very easy. We just need a pot,
Pot.
some water,
Sure.
and our eggs.
Yeah.
So that's a very easy thing to make, a boiled egg. Very easy. So think about it. So that's step one. So number one for homework is think about your food. Think about what you want to make. Okay? And then step two, I want you to think about once you have what to make, think about what we talked about today. So those are what you will cook it in, a pot, a pan, a skillet. So what you will cook it in, and also where you will cook it. So is it cooked on the stove or is it cooked in the oven? Okay? So think about what you want to make and then what you will cook it in and where you will cook it. Okay? So an example, if I were doing the assignment, maybe I would say, I am going to boil an egg. And so to boil an egg, I will use a pot and I will cook it on the stove. So that's an example of what I would like to hear from you next class. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay, can I explain to them?
Yeah.
Alright. So 我们下一节课你要想好你要煮什么食物哦，然后你要煮这个食物需要的用具，好比说你要一个锅子，还是你要这个pan 还是什么，然后到时候下礼拜要跟老师报告。我们大概有3堂课会上这个食谱类的课程，最后一堂课你必须要演示说现在我要跟大家讲怎么样煮蛋这个是很容易就是把蛋放到水煮这个锅子里面，然后放在瓦斯炉上面到时候就是我们这几堂课上完，可能就请你做一个简单的说明，这很实用。Alright, I think they get it.
All right. So that's what we'll start with next class is we'll talk about the different things that each of you want to make. And this will also help us because next class we will start to talk about common ingredients that are found in most things. So like our butter or salt and pepper. So we'll think about that too. Next class. All right? Any other questions?
So I don't think they know the word ingredient. Could you explain what it means?
Yes, I can. So ingredient, I will type it in the chat really quick, but ingredient. So an ingredient is an item that you use or need to cook the food that you want. So let's think about our grilled cheese example. The ingredients for a grilled cheese are bread, butter, and cheese. So let's think about what are some ingredients for a salad. Tyler, you brought up a salad. What would be some ingredients you would find in a salad?
Vegetables.
Yes, vegetables. Good. Maybe lettuce.
Yeah.
Lettuce. Lettuce or spinach.
Oh,
Yeah, or maybe some dressing. Dressing on your salad. So yeah, those are ingredients, things that you need to make a dish or to make a food. Okay?
Okay.
So next class, think about the food you want to make, what you will make it in, and where you will cook it. Okay?
下一堂课的时间是星期五的10点半 同样是那个 Teacher Quentin 上这个食谱的课哦，所以是星期五啊，这几天要想好。All right, let's unmute your microphone and say thank you, Teacher Quentin. Okay? 一起来 ，Thank you,
Thank you,
Teacher
Teacher
Quentin.
Quentin.
All right.
Or see
Well,
you
you're welcome.
Friday.
I will see you Friday.
Your Thursday night. Yeah.
My Thursday night. Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Bye,
Bye.
class.
Good night.
Bye bye.